Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng PAGCOR.
Get ready for an intense, extreme, exciting experience. Here's PCSO's newest, biggest game ever. The Ultra Lotto 658 for only 20 pesos per combination. 50 million pesos is at stake. Pick 6 numbers from 1 to 58. Hit the jackpot and be an ultra millionaire of 50 million pesos. Exciting consolation prizes await you ranging from 20 pesos up to 280,000 pesos. More numbers, bigger prizes. See posters and print ads for details.
Sa PCSO, bawat taya para sa kawang gawa. Isa na namang pagkilala ang ibinigay ng KBP sa DZRH sa katatapos na KBP Golden Dove Awards. Best Radio Public Service Program Host, Deo Macalma.
Ito ay lalong nagbibigay sa atin ng inspirasyon para lalong
Best Radio Newscaster, Angelo Palmones.
Ang pagbabalita para sa akin, hindi lang obligasyon. Ito'y isang karangalan.
Best Radio Children's Program, Boses ng Kabataan.
Para sa inyo to, para sa lahat to ng mga kabataan, mga nagpakita ng kanilang talento.
Best Radio Culture and Arts Program, Art to Art.
Kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa KBP para sa kanilang pagtitiwala at parangal.
Best Radio Drama Program, Batang Mujahideen Radyo
Kami
Balitatao.
taus-pusong nagpapasalamat sa KBP sapagkat ito ang
Sa KBP, salamat. Ito ay aming inspirasyon para sa tuloy na pagbibigay ng tamang balita at tamang serbisyo sa bawat Pilipino.
Calling all fundraising organizations. Be a partner of PCSO to its newest project, PCSO Partner Tayo. Interested parties may visit the PCSO Product and Standard Development Department, 3rd floor, Conservatory Building, Shaw Boulevard, Mandaluyong City. You may also visit any of our branches in your vicinity or province or email us at pcso_marketing@yahoo.com. Partner tayo sa pagtulong sa Pilipino. Nakakatulong ka na, umaasenso ka pa.
Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng PCSO. Sa Thinking Out Loud with Rafi Alunan, rehabilitasyon ng Marawi at pagpapalakas ng puwersa ng pamahalaan. Ito ang ilan lamang sa mga susunod na hakbang ng Administrasyong Duterte matapos ang kinikilala ngayong tagumpay ng bansa laban sa mga Mauti terror group sa halos 5 buwang bakbakan sa lungsod ng Marawi. At sa pagkakataong ito, ano-ano nga ba ang higit na dapat tutukan ng pamahalaan upang maipagpatuloy ang tagumpay na ito at tuluyang makamtan ang kapayapaan sa Mindanao at sa buong bansa? Pakinggan at panoorin ang tapatan ni Rafi Alunan at AFP Retired Lieutenant General Edilberto Adan sa DZRH Radio. Manood sa DZRH News Television at sa ating live feed sa DZRH News Television Facebook page at YouTube live channel. Gayon din sa ating website sa www.dzrhnews.com. Lahat ng ito hihimayin ngayong araw sa Thinking Out Loud with Rafi Alunan.
Welcome back, General Adan. Kanina, pinag-usapan natin yung issue kung bakit yung kalaban continued to fight for 5 months. Para bang yung ammunition nila was limitless, no? And we touched on possible gun running, smuggling sa customs, and that brings to mind the problem of corruption. Corruption that is endangering our national security. As well as questions about yung legislative defenses natin to protect ourselves against terrorism, no? Sapat ba ang ating legislation to back up our AFP and PNP including customs, immigration, NBI, and all other law enforcement agencies, to ensure that they put up an effective preventive shield or have enough teeth to mitigate the threat of terror kung nalusutan na tayo, no? I'd like to start with the issue of corruption and what sort of mitigating measures should be undertaken by the government. Kasi napakalawak yung problema na yun.
Well, gaya ng nasabi mo kanina, bakit yung threat groups, bakit yung terrorist groups ay parang hindi nauubusan ng bala, no? At yan ay, it has been reported several times in the past that one of the sources is government. Government issued, government manufactured ammunition from our arsenal. At kung yan ay titingnan natin, yung flow niyan, no? So, our military, our policemen are issued these weapons and this ammunition. Yung control ngayon of this ammunition that has been issued or expended, no, must be reported. Very important yan eh. Bukod dyan, hindi lang yung issued, no, yung binibili. Tingnan mo ngayon, kung ikaw ay merong license ng firearm, you can go to any gun store and buy as many rounds as you want.
Unlimited ba yun? Akala ko limited
Unlimited
to 100 rounds lang yan per
Well, you
purchase.
can buy as often as you can.
Ganun ba yun?
Oo.
On a daily basis,
No.
pwede 100 rounds per day. Ganun ba
Oh,
yun?
ganun yun. Who knows where you're giving it to or whether you're actually spending it with more than 500,000 firearms owners in the land. No? So what I'm saying is very important kasi ngayon, we allow ammunition for high-powered firearms. Kasi marami ngayong holders ng high-powered firearms.
Pwede na bang bumili yan over the counter?
If you have a license for high-powered firearms. Marami ring authorized in the past. Ngayon, nagigpit na tayo na one can possess high-powered rifles. In fact, there was a time AK-47s are allowed and you can buy over the counter. Isa pang source niyan na-discover namin nung nasa Independent Commission Against Private Armies ako in 2010. Yung mga local government units, they were authorized to buy for their security units, the local security units, firearms of high caliber, including AK-47s, and the ammunition that goes with it. And then later on, hindi na nila ma-account yung ammunition. And they could have bought thousands of those rounds. So, yan ang mga possible sources niyan, ng mga ammunition na yan.
Including the policemen under their control.
Of course,
Because
yes.
the PNP is under the mayors have operational control of the PNP.
So, ang ibig sabihin, kailangan talaga ng tight measures, tight regulations with that incurs heavy penalties for violations of this, the proper handling and control of ammunition and firearms.
Well, I think one of the isang malaking problema yata yung disciplinary the authority of the police commanders to discipline their men. Unlike the military, they used to have the same authority. But ngayon dahil sa civilian na sila, nag-iba na. At
Yes.
and that's the reason why they say discipline has gone down.
Yes, napapag-usapan namin yan sa mga retired general circles, sa gaya ng Council of Foreign Relations, no? Na ang kakaibahan ngayon, the difference after 1992 legislation which made the PNP a civilian organization, nawala sila sa military justice system. Whereas before, yung Philippine Constabulary was under the AFP and therefore subject to military regulations. Ang PNP as a civilian organization, hindi na applicable ang military justice system, which allows for a commander at the level of a battalion commander to dismiss a soldier for a serious violation. He can dismiss, he can suspend, he can um, deduct from his pay up to 15 days for infraction of regulations. The power of a military commander. Wala na yun sa police. Now they have to go to the proper, the investigation, due process. The policeman probably can get his own lawyer. So, yun nga, matagal.
So perhaps that's an area where the Commander-in-Chief, President Duterte, the DILG, which is now currently headed by a former chief of the Special Action Force, General Lito Cuy, and the National Police Commission to look into the possibility of introducing amendments to the PNP law that could perhaps restore the military justice system for the Philippine National Police, even if it is under a civilian organization.
Yeah, maybe not restoring it to under the military justice system, but perhaps providing for special courts, special procedures that are specific for police violations. Para mabilis ang handling ng case. It doesn't go through the regular,
So the PNP version of a court martial.
Yes, the PNP version. Pwede naman yun eh.
Okay, so that's one measure. The other measure that we've talked about in many forums or fora is the fact that our Internal Security Act is very weak.
That's right.
And if we are facing a global threat to, let's say, regional security, yung ating Internal Security Act does not measure up to the level of that of Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, etc. So, if the security chain, if we look at our law enforcement capacities in ASEAN, if we look at them as a chain, and we are a link, as Indonesia is another link, ang sinasabi nila, we are the weakest link.
Yes.
And a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
That's correct. Yes.
So, ang pinag-uusapan ngayon is how to fight global terrorism or how to fight terrorism in a regional theater, which means that we have to scale up. We have to scale up our legislation. We have specifically our Human Security Act, ano yung mga aspeto ng Human Security Act na kailangan nating i-scale up para mapantay doon sa Internal Security Acts ng ating mga kapitbahay?
Well, yung Human Security Act, as far as I recall, took more than 10 years to be passed. I remember Senator Ping Lacson introduced that. Ang tagal na struggle bago na approve yan. And finally, when it came out, it was watered down.
It was watered down in 2007 kasi pinasa yan sa 2007.
2007, oo. So, ang isang provision doon nga, pag ang isang law enforcer, say policeman, ay humuli ng isang suspect, terrorist suspect, at yan ay kinasuhan niya, at eventually, yung suspect na yan ay na-acquit ng courts. Yung policeman na yun ay ifa-fine, he'll be penalized by having to pay 500,000 pesos a day for the period na confined ng terrorist na na-acquit. So kung
Diyos mio. So kung 10 araw yun, di 5 million?
5 million. Kung 6 na buwan yan, you can just imagine. And if it's not the individual policeman, his unit will be made responsible to pay.
So which means na what our Anti-Terrorist Act is a pro-terrorist act.
So tinanong ko some generals of the PNP a year ago, ginagamit yung pa ito. Sir, hindi. Sabi nila, wala nga hong na-charge dyan. Can you imagine a nation facing thousands, I would say thousands of terrorists or terrorist potentials, And we've been fighting the NPA, which is declared a terrorist group for many years now, na ang batas against terrorism ay ganun, ang magkakamali pa yung policeman.
Tama.
Siya pa mananagot. Can you imagine that? So it's really mind-boggling how
So
this came
there's a
about,
need
no?
to amend the Human Security Act.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What are the other areas that need improvement?
Well, ang sa akin tingin dyan, walang terrorism kung walang armas, weapons, no? Ideology, we have freedom of expression. You can say whatever you want, provided you don't do it with violence. And violence comes from the use of weapons. So weapons control is very important. Isa tayo sa bansa na napakalawag pagdating sa possession of firearms. I think we all know that, no? Look at Japan, look at Korea, look at Indonesia. Absolutely, no? Australia, no possession of firearms. Japan, no possession of firearms. Tayo, kultura na natin, ika nga, sabi nila. So now we can possess, very liberally, so many firearms. Hindi ko sinasabing pagbawalan, Sinasabi ko lang, kung meron tayong ganong kultura, dapat mahigpit din ang control at ang penalty for violation is mahigpit din. Hindi ganun na nangyayari. Possession of firearms is available, easily available. Kailangan mong, kami nun, nasa active duty ako, pag nakakahuli kami, nadidismiss ang kaso kasi raw mali yung paraan ng pag-search, no? Hindi raw plain view. No? Kailangan pala nakikita mo pa yung baril, nakasuksok sa bewang. So we arrested one guy kasi bulging na niya, may baril. Nung hinuli namin, kami pa ang mali. Kasi daw dapat nakikita namin yung baril. That was how it was dismissed. So things like those, these are maybe exceptions, but ibig sabihin, kailangan higpitan yun.
Another aspect, General Adan, is yung financing, no? Terrorism financing, no?
Terrorism financing.
So
yes,
yung provisions sa Human Security Act to counter terrorist financing,
Yes.
I think also needs improvement based on what I hear. Kasi napakahigpit kasi ng halimbawa, banking secrecy laws natin. If we want to find out whether somebody is involved in terrorist financing,
yes.
katakot-takot na
Alam mo, related sa anti-drug campaign ng gobyerno yan Kasi the drug trade, the illegal drugs trade, is really a source of much funding, no? Illegal funding. And who knows where this money could be used, no? Siyempre, pagka meron kang illegal drugs, kailangan mo ng proteksyon. Kailangan mo ng baril. And this money, if firearms are easily available.
what people don't realize, and what probably our government officials don't realize, may link ang terrorism or terrorist organizations to drug syndicates.
Yes.
Drug syndicates are tapped to fund terrorist organizations.
That's right.
And some of those terrorist organizations are actually black operations of certain governments, no? Undertaken by certain governments. And if you have a banking secrecy law that protects everybody without exception, doon makakalusot yung terrorist financing.
I agree with you.
And that's something that has to be looked into by our legislators. Dahil sa pag nakalusot yung pera, the whoever it is that receives that money will now have the means to acquire the necessary logistics to carry out his terrorist plans.
That's right. Yes.
His terror plans. So that brings us to another aspect, which is which has to do with properly equipping our forces, both the military and the police, to address internal security challenges and external defense or external security threats. No, I think for the most part, we've been investing in internal security. but we've never invested really so much in external defense. Kung wala naman tayong bakod to protect ourselves internally, eh, madali tayong mapasukan. So, our internal security is only as good as our security fence. Kung wala tayong security fence externally, mahina din yung ating security defenses internally. And we've discussed, for example, a very good example is the West Philippine Sea, na lagi tayong napapasukan dyan ng poachers, ng Navy at Coast Guard ng ibang bansa, nakakapasok, nakakalabas without any challenge from us kasi kinukulang tayo sa capital assets.
Yeah, mabuti na banggit mo yan, ano? Really, as described by many foreign analysts, no, our defense budget is one of the lowest, no, on a percentage of GDP, on a per capita basis, no. 108 million na tayo. We have so much resources, no, at stake, natural resources, and yet our budget for defense is 1.2, 1.3% only of gross domestic product.
That's today.
That's today.
But on the average, it's below 1%. On the average.
Samantalang yung mga neighbors natin na wala namang kalaking threat like ours, eh hovering about 3% na sila, 2.8, 2.9.
At yung GDP nila mas malaki pa sa kaysa
Mas
sa
malaki
atin.
pa. Because that's how important, that's the value they place on defense. No? Look at Singapore. No? They have one of the most modern defense forces in the region. Look at Taiwan. Of course, our neighbors, Malaysia. No? Eh tayo, we've been fighting thousands of secessionist separatist groups, elements. We have the New People's Army, but we're not investing so much on defense. Kasi nga, I would say one of the reasons is nagkaroon tayo ng ng so much dependence, no, in our minds sa presence of our allies, no, particularly the United States, na darating naman sila kung kinakailangan natin, the Mutual Defense Agreement. Pero mali yun, no, mali yun. Dapat talaga self-reliance magsarili tayo, yung kakayahan, ating sariling kakayahan, gamitin natin. Sapagkat in the end, walang magmamalasakit sa atin, kundi sarili natin. So, our proposal is to increase the defense budget, no? To maybe at least 3%
Of our GDP.
of our GDP. And then, we can now proudly say, we can now stand proud and be more vigilant, no? You know, our address, the way we handle our foreign policies, our foreign security issues now, no, our external security issues, is through diplomacy, which is tama naman, no? Kaya lang may kasabihan nga diplomacy without leverage amounts to nothing. Pag magsalita ka, dapat backup ka rin na kakayahan, no? Kahit maliit na nation ka, kung may kakayahan ka, igagalang ka
Tama.
Ikaw, malaking nation ka na, wala ka man lang kaya, puro ka laway. Hindi pwede yun.
Good example is Singapore.
Oo. So, ibig sabihin, para tayo igalang ng ating mga neighbors and the world, no? At ating mga citizens, wherever they are, in any part of the planet, ay hindi yuyurakan, hindi mamaliitin, magpakagalang-galang tayo by having a minimum credible defense capability.
A very good example when you were saying that, General Adan, was I remember in the 70s, late 70s, Israel sent its paratroopers thousands of miles away to rescue hostages in an African country,
In Entebbe.
in Entebbe, in Uganda, which was then ruled by a dictator called Idi Amin.
1982, I think. Yes.
And that was a very daring rescue, which resulted in the death of only one
Yes.
military man who happened to be the commander at kapatid ng incumbent prime minister ng Israel ngayon, si Benjamin Netanyahu. That was a demonstration of national will. Now, here's a small nation with a very strong sense of security and that anything that happens to its citizens anywhere, whether it is in Israel or outside, they'll go out of their way to protect them. The same way with the Americans, no? The same way with China, no? In our case, we have Filipinos practically scattered in every country around the world. And yet, we don't have any means to protect them when they are in harm's way.
Alam mo, ang susunod na tanong dyan siguro bakit ganun tayo? Bakit hindi ang gobyerno natin, even in the past, no, administrations, bakit hindi naglalaan ng kaungkulang defense budget? At makikita natin yan sa larangan ng politika natin, no? Sapagkat it appears that there are groups that basically hold the view na hindi dapat bigyan ng so much power ang military sapagkat meron tayong karanasan, no?
Yung martial law hangover.
Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa tapos yun. Hanggang ngayon, nakikita natin sa mga karsada natin yan. At nako-condition yung tao na do not give to the military so much hardware, so much power because they might
Use it against us.
Pero sa palagay ko, dapat nang matapos yan. The military is a reflective of the values of our nation, values of our people. Kung ano ang kahalagahan natin sa sarili natin, yun din dapat ang kahalagahan ng military sa atin. Iyan ay investment, no? Hindi yan ang ginagastos natin diyan, hindi yan patapon, no? Kundi an investment. Kagaya ng losses sa Marawi ngayon, 100 billion plus daw to reestablish Marawi, rehabilitate. Kung yan may kakayahan tayo to preserve Marawi even before the attack happened, then we would not be in this situation.
I think that calls for good government or good governance, no? There was a very stark difference.
Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng PAGCOR.
Calling all fundraising organizations. Be a partner of PCSO to its newest project, PCSO Partner Tayo. Interested parties may visit the PCSO Product and Standard Development Department, 3rd floor, Conservatory Building, Shaw Boulevard, Mandaluyong City. You may also visit any of our branches in your vicinity or province or email us at pcso_marketing@yahoo.com. Partner tayo sa pagtulong sa Pilipino. Nakakatulong ka na, umaasenso ka pa.
Reklamong totoong pinakikinggan. Reklamong talagang pinag-uusapan. Reklamong talagang tinututukan. Pinakikinggan, pinag-uusapan, tinututukan. Sama-sama, sabay-sabay at tuloy-tuloy nating tutukan si Greco sa programa Ireklamo kay Greco. Kasama si Greco. Greco Belgica. Linggo, alas 2 ng hapon. Sabayang matututukan sa DZRH News Television, DZRH Radio, DZRH News Television Facebook at YouTube live channel at dzrhnews.com. Ireklamo kay Greco.
Get ready for an intense, extreme, exciting experience. Here's PCSO's newest, biggest game ever. The Ultra Lotto 658 for only 20 pesos per combination. 50 million pesos is at stake. Pick 6 numbers from 1 to 58. Hit the jackpot and be an ultra millionaire of 50 million pesos. Exciting consolation prizes await you ranging from 20 pesos up to 280,000 pesos. More numbers, bigger prizes. See posters and print ads for details.
Sa PCSO, bawat taya para sa kawang gawa. Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng PCSO.
Ang nangyari sa Marawi can be traced to the quality of our governance and the quality of our citizenship. On the other hand, yung martial law hangover tungkol sa AFP, tama ka, dapat mawala na yan kasi na-demonstrate ng AFP yung high level of professionalism doon sa Marawi.
Yes, yes,
Notwithstanding the fact that they were in harm's way,
yes.
maraming namatay sa atin at maraming na wounded, they went out of their way to minimize collateral damage. And they were very culturally sensitive to make sure that they don't offend the Muslims in the area.
You know, Rafi, what concerns me, is after a few months, makakalimutan na naman yan nangyari na yan sa Marawi. We must not forget that more than 164 soldiers' lives, I think 165, were lost, paid for their lives to save Marawi, and more than almost 2,000 wounded, as you said. Never in the history has this happened. Ang isang hindi maganda sa atin, alam mo, after 1 month, after 2 months, ibang headlines na naman ang nasa dyaryo, ibang scandal na naman, nakakalimutan yan. Kaya in other nations, makita mo, even after 50 years, yung isang battle, nare-recall pa nila, nare-remember nila, may mga monuments, may mga ceremonies to commemorate the gallantry of their soldiers, the sacrifices. Kasi hindi yan isipin dapat na, sundalo lang naman ang lumaban doon, Battle ng AFP yan. Maling-mali yun. Battle natin yan, ng Filipino nation. Those are our values that we upheld, That freedom is not free. We have to fight for our freedom. At yun ang pinakita ng sundalo. Atin yun.
And vigilance is the price that we pay for freedom.
Yeah. Oo. So, I hope hindi mangyari yun. Just as in previous big battles, the November 13 Zamboanga siege. Meron na bang monumento na gawa ron? 200 died there. So many soldiers. Ngayon, ito malaki. I hope in 3 months' time, baka iba na namang scandal pinag-uusapan natin, iba na namang investigasyon. Ito hindi dapat makalimutan. Dapat may monumentong malaki dyan, somewhere. In fact, I would propose, sana meron tayo national commemorative mass for our heroes. Maybe at the Manila Cathedral, whatever. Other nations do this. I'm not saying this just because, we've been to other nations in our military training. They commemorate, even in the Washington Memorial or in Australia, Canberra.
A national thank you.
This is the biggest. We must not forget.
Yes, and this is already part of our history.
Yes.
And the only way for us to remember history is by having battle monuments, constant storytelling about the lessons learned, about the triumph of the human spirit, despite all the odds that were faced in a combat situation. All of these things should be reflected, particularly in relation to our values as a nation.
Yes. Alam mo, may kasabihan a nation does not remember its heroes, will itself soon be forgotten.
Totoo yan. Totoo yan. Now, talking about national security in relation to our national values, how do you see this going? The government has already enacted, as you know, a national security policy, and that policy has given birth to the draft of a national security strategy, and we've been fortunate enough to be asked to provide a critique, on these things. The first chapter of our draft that we submitted had to do with national values, which was authored by the late Father Archie Intengan, who just passed away 2 weeks ago. And it was a beautifully written chapter on our values. Would you want to touch on that?
Well, ang ating napag-usapan nga, national interest is founded on national values. Who are we as a people? What do we believe in? So we believe in the freedom of man, his innate capacity as a human being, his respect for the rights of other human beings, na hindi walang coercion, no, from other elements. I think napakahalaga nun sapagkat our Constitution provides for these values, and we should all be aware of this as every citizen. At yun ang ating pinaglalaban. Yun ang way of life of the Filipino. And all our actions to provide for security, doon nagsisimula protection of our way of life. You know? Tayo ay isang makadiyos na bansa, makabayan, makakalikasan, and so forth. Yun ang ating core values na all of these national security measures, internal or external, are geared and focused on the preservation of those values, because we are that, no, as a people.
The national security strategy is only good as the people who implement it.
That's right. Yes.
I have come across many instances where beautiful policies have been issued, but after the issuance, nakalimutan na. Or very good directives addressed to national and local governments na after the issuance, after many months and years of putting it together, only ended up gathering dust as soon as it was issued.
You know, in the United States, it is legislated that the president must prepare and present to Congress a national security strategy every 4 years. May batas Sa atin, walang ganun. Maybe it's about time we have a law that requires the executive to prepare a national security strategy, present it to the people, no, through the Congress. Batas yun.
In this case, every 6 years. Kasi sa America, it's every 4 years since the presidential elections are every 4 years.
Yeah.
In this
Pwede
case,
rin.
one
Pwede.
time, 6 years for an incumbent.
Pwede. Oo. Yeah. Importante may legislation. And that goes to our one of our major recommendations sa National Security Strategy na it's about time we have a new version of the National Security Act, no? The National Defense Act of 1935. Sana mangyari yun, no? That initiative na baguhin na, let's look into the National Security Act, magkaroon tayo ng bagong outlook na adaptive to the times.
Well, I think what our audience would like to hear from us and from you, General Dan, is, and especially our policymakers na nakikinig, including the Commander-in-Chief if he's listening to our show, is how are we going to fund all of this? What are the funding strategies to be able to reach our objectives of credible deterrence, let's say over a period of 15 years? Ano ba yung mga options na pwede nilang tingnan para ma-fund ng mabuti yung credible deterrence?
Well, I'm not an economist, pero in the past I've consulted some former finance secretaries. Sabi niya, there are many ways to produce funds. Of course, one of them is through our internal generation, our taxation, no?
So, improve tax collection efficiency
Improve tax collection efficiency.
and reduce corruption.
Reduce corruption. No?
Malaking bagay yun.
Sinasabi nga nila, 20-30% is thrown away because of corruption.
Sabihin mo na 20%, General Dan.
Okay.
Yung budget next year is 3.7 trillion.
Yes.
20% of 3.7 trillion is 750 billion? Something like that?
Yes, yes.
740 billion.
So, malaking bagay.
Malaking bagay yun.
Kung gusto, kakayanin Kung gusto, kakayanin.
The other is they can probably consider floating bonds.
That's right. Yeah, other countries do that.
And then we have a lot of military reserve lands, no? Under sa mga military reservations natin.
Yes.
We can carve out portions of that in strategic locations and set up industrial parks, defense industrial parks, to produce for the Navy, for the Air Force, for
Pwedeng, isa yun sa mga options, no? Papag-aralan dapat mabuti yan. Oo, as we go. Well, the other thing, of course, is reconfiguring the armed forces. Right now, the budget for defense, no, for the AFP, 80-85% goes to salaries.
To personnel.
Personnel services. So 15% goes to operational, meaning ammunition, fuel, batteries, and so forth. Yung pambili mo ng bagong kagamitan, your aircraft, your ships, saan mo kukuhanin? Wala na. So, what I'm trying to say is, very important na yung 85%
Mabawasan.
na pupunta sa personal services, mabawasan mo. How do you do that? Ang sinasabi nga, magdadagdag pa tayo ng 20,000 more troops this year. And I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate that
Kailangan natin yun.
Malacanang decision to add manpower. Sapagkat matagal na naming sinasabi yan, kulang tayo ng battalions, ng manpower. No? Given the tasks that are being assigned to the armed forces. So, one way is to implement what the Constitution says, a citizen army. Magkaroon tayo siguro ng, well, just like Taiwan, just like South Korea, Singapore, ang isang citizen, pagdating ng 21 years old, required to have military service, maybe 2 years, 3 years. If bulk of your army are military servicemen or national service required personnel, then your personal expenses are reduced.
Yes, because in other words, they don't get the same salary or benefits as the regular
As the
forces.
regulars.
Yes.
Oo. Tayo, pag pumasok ang isang sundalo, tuloy-tuloy yan hanggang age 56.
How about yung sinasabing mga pensions for the veterans and for the retirees? Should that be carved out and placed under a different agency?
Dapat lamang, sapagkat hindi truly reflective of the defense budget kung nandun pati yung pension ng mga civilians like me who are already retired. And yung budget, for example, for personal services, about 30 billion a year na are for pensioners.
30 billion.
Yeah. Yun ang requirement, no?
And what is the total budget for personnel?
Well, 140 times about 80%.
So that's about 100 billion.
Yeah. Oh.
110 billion.
Ganun.
So kung tanggalin mo yung 30 billion, it will go down to 80.
Yes, ganun ang mangyari. Kaya nga, hindi matugunan ang requirement ng...
At saka yung 30 na yon pwedeng gamitin for capital assets at saka repairs and maintenance.
Yes. So, at saka makikita talaga ang tunay na napupunta sa defense. Hindi yung pensioners, no? Ngayon, pinaproblema ng gobyerno yung pension sapagkat malaking issue to ngayon, by the way, no? And I'd like to say that because tinatanggal ngayon yung what is provided by law to the pensioners na yung indexation na kung ang sweldo ng active duty component ay itinaas, yung pensioners may corresponding adjustment. Inaalis yun ngayon. In fact, inalis, no? And it's now a big issue among pensioners, especially our lowly enlisted retirees, no? Na composed ng 90% of the retirees. Sapagkat sila nagkakasakit, wala na silang pambili ng gamot.
Okay.
Kung hindi i-adjust yung pension nila. And sana ito ay matugunan. At meron kami mga proposals how to do that.
General Adan, dumating na tayo sa last portion ng ating show. At let's assume na kaharap mo ngayon yung National Security Council led by the President, former Presidents, members of the Cabinet, and important members of the Legislature. You have 5 minutes to tell them what should be done to improve the state of our national security. What will you tell them?
Well, unang-una natutuwa ang from the point of view of a soldier ay nagpapasalamat kami, no, sa pinapakita ng current leadership. Hands-on, concern. Pagbisita sa tropa, sa larangan, pagbibigay ng makabagong kagamitan, no? And yun ang unang siguro appreciation. Pangalawa, kailangan ng ating defense budget ay taasan, no? Sa towards the build-up of a minimum credible defense posture. Napakahalaga yon na para tayo igalang ng ibang bansa at ating mga citizens, ipakita naman natin na handa tayo rin gumastos para sa ating protection, para sa ating security, at hindi tayo laging nakasandal sa ibang gobyerno, sa ibang bansa para sa ating seguridad. At yan ay dapat tanggapin natin na magkakaroon tayo ng konting sakripisyo dyan. Sapagkat, siyempre, kung magka-allocate ka ng budget for this, for defense, ay meron ka sigurong babawasan na ibang prioridad. At dapat lamang na babalansehin mo yan. No? Naniniwala naman kami na importante ang edukasyon, ang infrastructure, pero alalahanin natin ang investment sa national defense ay isang investment nga. No? Ito ay may ibubunga, ito ay may tubo, no? As what we've seen in Marawi now. No? Had we invested more, perhaps we would not have lost so much in lives and property.
At nakakatulong sa ating development.
Nakakatulong sa ating development. It's about time we get over the concern, no, that the military should not be given or should not be made so potent or strong because it might
Abuse.
no? I think dapat alisin na natin sa mindset yun eh. Nakikita natin sa professionalization ng ating mga officers ngayon, malayong-malayo na tayo dun sa panahon na yon. If we keep harping on that, hindi tayo makaka-move on. No? We should stop that eh. Mabuti, isa pang bagay dyan yung sinasabing restoration of ROTC, no? Na nabanggit kanina sa DZRH program. Na imagine from 2002, 15 years ago, we have lost thousands of Filipino young men or women who could have been exposed to the ROTC mandatory program and given training on not only military skills, but their sense of patriotism, nationalism have been enhanced. No? That one has to sacrifice in defense of the freedoms that we enjoy. Na hindi ito libre.
You know, Ed, when I used to head a Ready Reserve Division, 80% of my personnel, in a division, 5,000 men yun eh, 80% were ready reservists. Ang problema, yung average age namin, lampas ng 40.
Agree.
Kasi it was only during our time where we had a very strong ROTC program,
That's right.
our military training program. And then after that, nasira, no?
Yes.
In the, I think, in the early part of 2000, no? The first decade. And so yung personnel natin are aging sa reservists. Kaya't nung binuo yung 9th Infantry Ready Reserve Division, ang sabi ko, we might as well follow the total force concept where 20% of my men are regular officers and NCOs and 80% are ready reservists. At least we might be able to reduce somewhat the average age, no? And besides, with the regulars there providing the backbone of the division, we could easily raise the quality of our effectiveness as a unit.
Yeah.
The point is, we really need to restore ROTC and ang sinasabi mo kanina, yung military training program for 2 to 3 years involving 21-year-olds, no? Because it's really the youth that need to hold up our defense or military institution, because who else will do the fighting, no? The old guys like us, we're working and we've got other things to do and we're not as nimble anymore as... and besides, when young people are trained early in life sa military, we instill in them a sense of patriotism, sense of discipline that others don't get, no? And also skills.
Yes.
Skills that can be used later on after they leave the military. Kaya't napakahalaga yung sinabi mo kanina. One last point that you may want to tell the assembled National Security Council about the investment in credible deterrence.
Well, the Armed Force of the Philippines, I would say, no, has endured years of, shall we say, mabigat na sabihin na neglect eh. No? Pero, para napabayaan. Bakit ko sinabi yan? Wala nga tayong credible air defense eh. Any aircraft could fly above our skies eh. Hindi man lang natin ma-detect o mahinto eh. Kung merong submarine dyan sa Manila Bay ngayon eh, hindi nga natin malalaman na nandyan na eh. I mean, what kind of nation can allow that? Na a foreign submarine can be in Manila Bay. You don't know if it's there. What's the intention? Kaya sinasabi ko, neglect. It's about time we correct this, no? With our mindset to be credible,
And hopefully our Marawi experience changes the mindset of our political leadership. And to me, no less than the President can lead this effort in changing the mindsets of the executive and legislative
So
branches.
pinakita niya, malaking bagay ang liderato.
Well, General Adan, maraming salamat. I hope that yung ating mga tagapakinig was able to get a lot of information from you and process this to gain a better understanding of what it takes to secure our nation. Maraming salamat po.
Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng PAGCOR.
Calling all fundraising organizations. Be a partner of PCSO to its newest project, PCSO Partner Tayo. Interested parties may visit the PCSO Product and Standard Development Department, 3rd floor, Conservatory Building, Shaw Boulevard, Mandaluyong City. You may also visit any of our branches in your vicinity or province or email us at pcso_marketing@yahoo.com. Partner tayo sa pagtulong sa Pilipino. Nakakatulong ka na, umaasenso ka pa.
Feeling mo ba out ka sa mga kwentuhan? Feeling mo ba left out ka sa topic? Baka di mo alam ang trending. Baka di mo pa napanood ang viral. Tuwing Sabado, 6 p.m., di ka ma-OP sa kwentuhan sa social media. Pagsasamahin ko ang mga video na viral, video na trending. Kasama niyo ako, Victor De Guzman. Ulit, Sabado, magkita-kita tayo, 6 p.m. Live sa TV, DZRH News Television at live sa social media, Facebook at YouTube sa DZRH News Television.
TNVS Trending and Viral Show, Sabado, 6 p.m. sa DZRH News Television.
Get ready for an intense, extreme, exciting experience. Here's PCSO's newest, biggest game ever. The Ultra Lotto 658 for only 20 pesos per combination. 50 million pesos is at stake. Pick 6 numbers from 1 to 58. Hit the jackpot and be an ultra millionaire of 50 million pesos. Exciting consolation prizes await you ranging from 20 pesos up to 280,000 pesos. More numbers, bigger prizes. See posters and print ads for details.
Sa PCSO, bawat taya para sa kawang gawa. Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng PCSO.